Hey guys, we made it to season 5 of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and in this season, we aim to empower and embrace creativity through diversity as we dive into the fascinating stories and experiences of a diverse range of individuals, highlighting their unique perspectives and creative endeavors, from artists and entrepreneurs to innovators and activists. We celebrate the power of diversity in driving creativity and fostering positive change. Join us as we engage in thought-provoking conversations like...
I made myself intentionally homeless in pursuit of my purpose.
We're aware that a lot of people want to present and they were in my position, and what's worse, they weren't a white male, which is a joke that's even still a thing.
I think my family never ever say you can't do something, so full of support for whatever dream. If I said tomorrow I want to fly to the moon, they'll probably say I wish you all the best, Mel.
So guys, I just want to say thank you for supporting the Us People podcast for the past 5 years, and we look forward to sharing another new theme song with you. Let's go.
Hi, my name is Marlon James Edwards. I'm a founder and education consultant, and you are listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
I had to overcome a lot of obstacles just to get here.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to have Marlon James Edwards here with me, who is the founder and education consultant. Marlon, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to bless the show with who you are as a person, and even taking the time out to come on. How are you?
I am great, Savia. I'm excited that I was invited. It's great to meet you. I'm just humbled. This is a humbling invitation and conversation. I'm great. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for asking. Do you know I don't actually get asked that often? It's nice to get asked. Thank you so much for asking.
Of course, yeah. We have to look after each other. I think that's something I've learned in life.
That's
Look
true,
after each other.
That's a massive thing. I think compassion and kindness play a huge part within all of us, and without it, I think the world doesn't rotate or exist in the way that it should be.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
So Marlon, my first question for you is, could you tell me a bit about your background, of where you grew up and how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Oh, such a big question. So many. I'm just trying to think of the revised version. I mean, essentially, I am Jamaican. I'm Jamaican parentage, Jamaican culture. So growing up in North London, that was always prominent in the household, specifically with my grandparents. So my grandparents held, you know how it goes. Yep. Sunday dinner, all of that. Door open, families coming through. It was literally a conveyor belt. So like, neighbors coming through, and one of my grandparents was a foster carer, so you can only imagine how many kids she would have kind of brought up in the time that I grew up. So I grew up with a lot of foster kids as well, so it's weird growing up. You see them adults, but they're like brothers and sisters. So yeah, for me, there was a lot of family around, blood or non-blood family, lively. As anyone that's Jamaican, Caribbean, even my African friend, like, we always have stories about lively households. Yeah. But funnily enough, in those environments, I was super shy. I was almost non-verbal. It was weird. I'm not sure how I even get to this point, which is part of the whole journey. But yeah, I observed. I wasn't the one that talked that much. So I was a bit of an introvert. But yeah, I just remember having lots of fun as a kid, like being outside. I'm old enough to remember when you could go outside, leave the door open.
Yes.
Parents
leave your
send
back
you out,
outside. Yep.
There you go. Send you out at 1 p.m. You come back at maybe 8, 9.
Yep.
Possibly, and it's all good. So yeah, just fun. I mean, this is pre-phone. That's how old I am. Pre-mobile, pre-internet, pre-internet, and I think that's held me in good stead through the years. Is I know that time. Yeah. So as much as technology is fantastic, because we can do this podcast online, but I just know what it was like to have none of that and be happy. And I think growing up, although I have I've got 5 sisters. So,
Wow.
and I'm the only boy, 5 sisters, oldest. So as much as there was a lot of people around, as the eldest boy, I still felt like it was just me in a sense.
I understand that. Yeah.
Navigating, and that just led to creativity. So I love watching films, loved watching cartoons. That led to my fascination with like illustrations. I did a lot of illustration. If you're listening, remember this backstory, because everything I do now is connected to the backstory. So yeah, illustrations, drawing, like really, I'd wake up early on a Saturday and just draw.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Just wake up early, and it was yeah, I just remember like waking up early on a Saturday, and then my mum would be like doing the cleaning early, like the hoovers going, but the vinyls are playing, the music's playing.
Yes.
So that environment of like just music, there's just a buzz every week, and the music's playing, and I'm like, what, 10, 11, I'm still into my drawing, my illustrations, but music's captured me in a way where I'm fascinated. So now I'm looking through my mum's vinyls, I'm asking questions, I'm playing the vinyl without trying to scratch the vinyl. If anyone who knows vinyls, you know there's a process.
Yes, there is.
And if it's not yours, you have to be super careful, because you can't be leaving scratches on the vinyl. So yeah, I just grew up in households of creativity, music, and my auntie, one of my aunties, she was into fashion, so she would like be making clothes, she would be sewing. I remember going into her room and just seeing all this material around. It's almost like I was taking all of this in without really knowing where things were going to take me in life.
Yeah.
But it just part of my DNA. So anyway, my aunt is the first person in the family to buy a VHS camcorder.
Oh, I had one of those. Yeah.
You young kids who got mobile phones, we used to have a big
It
contraption.
was massive.
So you got to put tape in there, press record. But that I want to say that was the point where I discovered performance, because she would make us do little fashion shows, little catwalks, me and my sisters, and she'd film it, and then there'd be a whole thing with the music playing, and then my mum would be there dancing, almost choreographing us. It was like some North London Jackson 5 situation. I remember me and my older sister, the sister who's closest to my age, we were put into so many dance competitions. But it weren't like it was fun. It was regimented. There was rehearsals.
You're like, you don't do it, you get beats.
Yeah, there was rehearsals. There was color coordination on what we were wearing.
Oh, wow.
I think we were called Double Impact.
That's not a bad name, you know. That's not a bad name.
And there's actually video footage that will never see the light of day somewhere of these routines. But again, all of that training, I say training, because as I was growing up, getting into my teenage years, I went to Highgate Woods in North London, and there was no uniform. So there was no school uniform. But again, the creativity was like, because we didn't have money, so how do I fit in with the cool kids, and I ain't got money to buy the new Nike trainers. So yeah, I had to be very creative as a youngin'. Nothing illegal, but I would sell things in school. So I'd sell like drinks.
Yeah, I think we all done that, yeah.
Yeah, put it in the freezer. Sell those. I don't even know if I should tell this story.
Come on, it's there now.
Oh man. Anyway, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm making money off this drink, but I need more money. I need to buy my new Nike trainers or my new Wallabies. So I heard some of the older kids talking about like weed and stuff, and I was like, well, I don't really know about that lifestyle, but it looks similar to tea. So what I did is I went home. This is a true story. And I bought these little plastic bags, and I would literally fill them with Tetley tea bags. And I would sell them to the kids in school who were trying to be cool, but didn't really know what weed was, didn't really know what it tasted or smelled like. And yeah, it's £5 a bag. I did okay for a little bit, and
I
then
did okay for a little bit.
and I think my mum caught me, and at first she was angry because she thought I was actually selling weed. I was like, "No, mum, it's only tea. It's tea." It's like tea, and then that operation got shut down. But yeah, everything around me growing up was about entrepreneurship without me knowing what that word meant. I didn't know what entrepreneurs were. I just knew I needed things. There was not enough money. I wasn't trying to like hassle my mum. So I was always trying to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, I understand.
I think just growing up in North London under my mum, specifically about the Jamaican wider family, just gave me a sense of confidence.
I like that.
And my mum, my gran, my everyone was very encouraging. So my mum's mum was the first one to buy me my first computer, Commodore 64. If you're old enough,
I had one. Yeah.
Yeah. She also bought me my first driving lessons.
Oh wow.
And she was the one that told me that I'm going to uni. She didn't ask me. She told me, "You're going to uni." And I think the reason why my grandparents are so vital to my story is because not only were they loving and supportive, and not only did they lead with encouragement and action, my gran actually went to uni at 61, I want to say.
Yes, grandma.
I'm like, okay, gran has gone to uni. Yeah, there's that's a no-brainer. I have to go. Unfortunately, she passed away before I think I was in year 1 of uni, and then she passed away, so she didn't see me graduate. But obviously,
she saw you graduate just in a spiritual form.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I definitely believe in God. I definitely believe I have faith. So yeah, all of that rings true now when I'm kind of like maneuvering through life and I'm setting up my businesses or I'm in education spaces or managing. Like that's always with me in everything I do. So there's a lot more, but I don't think we've got enough time for me to go.
Yeah, we have time.
So many levels to how I was brought up, but yeah, I think essentially growing up in Tottenham, I would say community, but like Tottenham gets a bad rap sometimes in the media, but for me, as much as there was things going on in the background, like I just saw community, I saw culture, I saw a lot of Caribbean culture growing up. So think of like West Green Road, Seven Sisters, Broad Lane, like all those areas. And my family kind of occupied a lot of those areas. So everything for me felt, and maybe there was a naivety to it, but I felt safe. I felt love. I felt protection. I felt inspired. And even growing up and like going through uni and then traveling and then doing things in other spaces, always come back to Tottenham. Like I don't think there's any projects I do now that hasn't involved Tottenham or North London.
I totally understand what you mean. Yeah. That's how I feel about West London. Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. I essentially I feel like I had a good upbringing. It was tough financially, but like I said, it forces you to be creative, entrepreneurial. That all made sense to me now that I'm a founder and I have my businesses, and I'm also a manager of a project called Upward Bound, which is a project close to my heart, super close to my heart. I'm sure we'll get into more of that.
Yeah, definitely. So my next question for you is kind of gets more into Marlon, who you are as a person, and you told us, even a snippet about your background, and even that is educational enough to understand that compassion and kindness, which we spoke about even before we started recording, is a massive contribution to who we become. And sometimes we're manifesting things because we see it within our families. So my next question for you is, can you define yourself as a person, but also who you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, Has there ever been a time where you have looked in a mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage to go from the person that you didn't necessarily want to become or was becoming to becoming the person that you did want to become with purpose?
Savia, that's a mad
I
question.
know, it's layered.
Woof. I've had therapy. Like I encourage people to have therapy, counseling, coaching, mentoring. You need a mentor. Like, I have several mentors. Like I have at least 5 mentors currently. So I guess like growing up and I think being dyslexic as well, but not knowing I was dyslexic until I got to uni at 18. So school was a bit crazy for me in terms of my understanding and my progress.
Yeah.
When I get into spaces now, that's something I completely understand with students, young people. If you're on the spectrum, if you have ADHD, autism, etc., that you learn differently. So I think who I am now is someone that is, I think I'm very sensitive to human condition. I never take things for granted. Well, I probably do take things for granted, but I try not to. And something that I walk with every day is respect. So I don't look at anyone below me. I don't care what your occupation. I don't even care how old you are. You could be a young baby, a toddler, a teenager. I will always be respectful, and obviously with my elders as well and my counterparts. And I try to live that in everything I do. So on a practical level, when I'm out and about, I'll try and like just say hello to people.
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not the right setting, but you know how it is. You're walking around, you might catch someone's eye, and it's like, just raise a smile. It's nothing. And I think that's what we lose sometimes in London, definitely, but maybe around the world, is we don't connect with each other.
It's the humanity of us.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I got time to say hello or how are you, something like that. Something that I'm very big on is everyone's job is important.
Yes, very true.
When the road sweepers, the woman who works in the cafe, or the man that works in the cafe, cleaners, like, again, job titles don't really matter to me.
Same.
In terms of so again, the respect, how are you, thank you, that all of those basics, that's how I was brought up. The pleases and the thank yous are like embedded. So I know that about me. I know that's something that I try and walk with on a regular basis. You talked about looking in the mirror. Yeah, there's been many times, especially trying to start your own business, imposter syndrome.
Yes, it's massive.
Like,
yeah.
How dare I start a business, and not even one business, 2 businesses in the same year? How dare I do that? But I think for me, those business decisions came out of necessity, because I was in education for a long period of time. I was an English teacher specifically, and head of English for a specific school for a long time, and we did really well. Like, we became outstanding from Ofsted. And I remember this was 2020, so this is pandemic. I was like, hey, I feel like I've hit a ceiling here. But I never imagined in a million years I could own a business. So imagine 2020, I'm literally the world's falling apart, and I'm trying to decide whether I'm going to leave this very well-paid job, respected accolades, and step out into the unknown. Again, that was not me. I played it safe. I went from job to job, from paper rounds right up to teaching. I was always in work. So to step out into the unknown and say, I'm going to do something that is not guaranteed, not secure, how dare I? Who is this person? But I think the lockdown and where I was in my career almost forced my hand to change something. Something needed to change. And although 2020 was horrific for a lot of people, I found a lot of blessings in that year. I revisited my creative side. So I got back into design, drawing. I got back into music as well, because I was doing music really heavy. And then obviously through like teaching, that would be by the wayside. But then I had space, I had time.
Yeah.
And I remember this is actually what happened. 2020, April, my laptop was malfunctioning. It was breaking down. I was like, "No, this is terrible. I need a new laptop." And I went to buy a new MacBook. And when I bought this MacBook, I literally only needed it to do the basics. But when I went to the shop and I said, "Oh, how much is it going to be to get this MacBook?" He said, "Oh, well, I can do it for such and such." I said, "Okay, that's decent." And then he said, "Oh, well, I'm going to load it up with all these apps, like Adobe Suite, Logic X, da da da." I was like, "Woo!" but then I'm feeling like a kid again, because I'm like, "Oh my God, I got all these new toys." And then that opened everything up, because it was like, okay, let me get back onto my design work. Let me get back onto my music. Let me get back onto editing, because I love film.
Yeah.
And I had Adobe on it. So I was just experimenting. So 2020, I released an EP,
Awesome.
released a single. I did the video for the single. There's some mad creative animation, it's just a mix of genre. I was beginning to do the preliminary steps for my businesses.
Yep.
So I was doing research. And this is something I would say to anyone watching who does or listening that wants to start a business. The first thing you should do is, once you have a name for your business, buy the domain name first.
I agree with you.
Way before you register that business, buy the domain name first, because horror stories, someone has your name, someone's bought the domain for your company. What are you going to do? You got to buy it back. They could charge you crazy money. That's the first thing. So I was just learning as I went along. So yeah, 2020 was super creative for me, very fulfilling. And then by 2021, I basically had put my notice in, and I left that job August 2021, and then started my companies September 2021.
See,
that's where we are.
see, that's the fulfilling part. A lot of people say to me that 2020 was actually a year of goodness for them, because there a lot of people, when I do speak to them, they say some people enjoy their 9 to 5, and if you do it, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But some people know that their destiny is a little bit different, and they find that when they're in a 9 to 5, it's so destroying for them. And you don't want that. Believe me, you do not want to wake up in the morning and be like, I have to go to work, but it's not fulfilling my soul. And I think you just got to that point in your life. I walked out of a workplace and I just said I had enough. I actually walked out the building and then wrote my resignation letter and then left. So mine was very creative, but everyone does it differently. And and when you do find it, I would say go full throttle. Go and do what makes you happy, because then your heart will feel more fulfilled and you'll find a happiness within you. And happiness is the one thing that shines more than anything, you know, because happiness shows love. It shows everything in abundance. It doesn't stop. So that's awesome. I'm so proud that you did that, and you're still doing that today.
Literally, and I want, like I said, for me, that before there's Marlon pre-20 and there's Marlon post 2020, and that was the moment of literally bravery. But I think what I realized is, when I really thought about it, like, I've got the experience to do this. Like, it's not like I'm jumping into a business where I don't have. I mean, look, I have 2 businesses. One is education consultancy. I know that world. It was easier to manipulate and maneuver through. And then I started a fashion brand, which is something I didn't know about. So that was more tricky, but both equally fun. And actually, my fashion brand is about education, because the brand is raising awareness for neurodiversity. So the point of Archer series is that the designs are from people who are neurodiverse. Shout out to my business partner, Lizelle. We actually went to school together. So that's another full circle moment. And we both have dyslexia as well. So when I wanted to do a brand, I wanted to make sure the brand stood for something, had a message. And one of the things for our brand is so for the sales, 20% of the profits that we make goes back into education support for young people in London specifically. And then the vision is obviously as time goes on and we grow, that we expand to the rest of the UK in terms of the offer. But yeah, I mean, the manufacturing side of it, I didn't know anything about that. I just knew about design, but I didn't really know how it worked practically. So I was learning that. So yeah, both of the businesses have different paths in terms of what I needed to do. But again, I would encourage anyone listening, watching, who wants to start a business is just start. There's actually no hard, fast rules for starting a business, except for buy the domain name first, because you don't want to get in that later on down the line. But I'm still learning. I just keep learning. That's it. And surround yourself with people who are better than you or ahead of you in your field.
I agree with that. That's a really, really good one. That's a really good one. So if you love music, guys, go and do music. If you love fashion, go and find people who do fashion. And you know what? The funny thing is, I always like saying this on the show. The CEOs of massive companies actually do want people to contact them. Yes, they have people who block you, but if you are able to get to them, they actually don't mind. I've spoken to loads of them. I have them on the show, and they always turn around to me and they say, I want people to come to me and ask me questions. And sometimes that's even how they find talent.
It's I think you're right. I think just stepping out, take the chance. I think being an entrepreneur, you have to take risks. You have to take risks. And look, I stepped out of full-time education in 2021 and started two businesses. One I had no real clue about, but I had a passion for, and the other one I had some sense, but still needed to negotiate clients, etc. Let me just tell you this quick story, and this is not a brag. In 2022, my Archer Series fashion brand.
Yes.
I had a good friend. She said, "Look, there's Beyonce's got this organization called Baygood." And in 2022, I think she was doing her tour as well, but she was looking for Black entrepreneurs around the world, around the globe. And there was a UK stop, and they were just asking people to apply or put their names up. Archer Series got put through to the Black 100 entrepreneurs under Baygood. I ended up going to the Four Seasons Hotel on a beautiful Sunday.
That's a nice hotel. Yeah,
that's a great hotel. Oh my goodness. With 100 Black entrepreneurs around the UK, suited and booted. I think it was like 4-course meal. Now, this is when I knew things were different, because when I sat down at my place, there was gold cutlery and we were eating black rice. I've never eaten black rice before. If you said black rice to me, I would just assume you meant rice and peas, like a black person made the rice. That's black.
What you mean?
No, this is actual black rice. Anyway, I'm in the Four Seasons Hotel, and I'm looking around. I'm having this moment. I'm like, how the hell did I get into this room? This dyslexic boy from Tottenham. How?
Took a chance. That's what it was.
And it was such a great day. It was such a great honor. Like that day, I think that Beyonce's camp had awarded $100,000 to 10 of the entrepreneurs in the room. So when we got there, they were literally saying 10 of you are going to walk out with $10,000. So obviously everyone's excited. I didn't get the 10,000, by the way, but that wasn't the point. Yeah. The point was I was in the room. My name was on that list, and I thought, this is incredible. And I was literally sitting at a table away from Beyonce's mum and dad. So they were sitting there. Beyonce's dad was giving us gems, words of wisdom. It was just fantastic. And again, for me, I hold that, and I do tell people, especially young people, students, that story, because it's a story of taking a chance. and going for opportunities. I always tell people, go for the opportunity. Don't let it fly you by.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I've seen a
Yeah.
lot of those, and even what you're saying are words of wisdom, because time is precious. You don't get it back.
No.
And you don't want to live maybe, 30 years time, you say, I wish I'd done this, or I could have done this and I didn't do it. So definitely, Marlon, I agree with you 100%. So my next one for you is, I want to know what a day is like in Marlon's life. So I'm gonna pretend I've got my V8 video camera, old school. Let's go old school. We're not gonna go new school. Say I've got my V8 video camera. I come to you wherever you are in the morning. And I said, Marlon, I'm going to record you throughout the whole day, from when you wake up in the morning to when you decide to even brush your teeth. And and if you are a coffee person, you're a coffee person. If you are a hot chocolate person, you're a hot chocolate. And kind of just routine me through your day, just to make people understand what a day is like in your life.
I mean, I will say, thankfully, and I'm blessed that no 2 days are the same. And I think that's something I cannot over exaggerate how that good that feels, that not every day is going to be the same, and there's going to be a surprise. But I'll take you through a typical day, especially with running the businesses. So yeah, I tend to get up at 5:30. Them times. I've been failing a little bit on my meditation, but I do like to start with meditation just to center myself. And then I'll kind of I got like 7 alarms.
7?
Because I'll snooze. So the reason I get up at 5 is so I actually get up at 5:30. So there's like incremental alarms just to keep waking me up. So yeah, it's a mad system.
No,
so when I eventually get out of bed, I have to start with a shower or a bath, because I'm a Pisces, and for me, water is really reviving. Like it wakes me up on another level. So I have to start with that. So yeah, it's really the bathroom routine, getting everything done, getting myself awake. I won't take you through the skincare routine, but oh
come on, I want to know the skincare routine. Come on, you know what? It's actually nice for men to say that they have skincare.
I think, and again, I'm not going to say like I've been on it all my life, but I definitely, like when I hit into my 30s, I really was more on the whole take care of yourself, like really, self-love. That's really what it's about. So skincare routine takes another 20 minutes, but yeah, I mean, for me, once I'm like ready, and I think the other thing about my morning is, and I try to do this, I don't always get it done, I try to set out what I'm going to wear the night before. I
understand that.
Because when I don't, the mornings take longer, because I literally am trying to pick out what am I going to wear. I'm a fashion person, so I do think about these things. So it makes life a bit easier if I set it out the night before. But if I don't, then that could be another 10, 20 minutes trying to figure that out. That's why I have to get up early, because I need to get all of this stuff out of the way. I don't always have time for breakfast, but I will make time for coffee. Coffee is Kickstarter. And again, like, I don't know what happened. I think, I don't know. When you start your own business, the first year is tricky, and then you get a bit of momentum, and then cash flows come in, and you're like, okay, cool, I can live. Excellent. I'd say in my second year, I got a bit bougie. So I was doing Ubers. Yeah, it was a mess. I was doing Ubers. I was buying coffees out, and that's like £3-4 a time.
Oh.
Now I'm like, that's silly. So I make the coffee and I put it into my own coffee cup, save money, etc. So coffee gets me going, and then depending on what that day is, I'll need to go to my office. And again, I've been blessed enough to occupy a few offices because of the different hats I wear. So manage a program called Upward Bound, which is based in Islington, North London, and we're housed within the London Metropolitan University. That's where sessions take place. But because I'm also under the council, I get to work in the Islington Council offices as well. So that gives me a bit of variety. I can move between those offices if it's that type of day. And yeah, the day will be kind of set up, get my laptop out, get my phones out, check emails. Start by checking emails. And I think I'm not perfect, but I think just returning replies to emails as quick as possible has been something that I've tried to do. I've tried to be better on. I try to be better on that. I think that's really important, to reply to people, get back to people, give them some sort of answer. And even if you don't have the answer, especially in business, if you don't have the answer, you'll get back to them. And if there is a window of time, I'll get back to you on Thursday. And if it's Thursday, make sure it's Thursday. So yeah, checking emails, and then based on what those emails are, I'll probably have to start doing some phone calls as well. And yeah, my days kind of revolve around emails, phone calls, meetings, whether that's online or in person. I have to meet with different agencies, whether that's the council, parents, businesses. So yeah, I try and get all my meetings done early in the day.
Yeah.
And then depending on the day, if I need to work on the fashion brand, so I'll have to fulfill orders. So we're not at that stage yet where I've got someone else to do that. It's literally me doing that.
I understand that. Yeah. Yep.
Orders come in, I fulfill them, package them up, literally take it to the post office. And yeah, I try and, again, with orders, I try and get that wrapped up in 7 days. So that's kind of the policy. If you make an order, it will be with you in 7 days. And thankfully, we've had some international customers as well. So sending things to like Berlin, Norway, Spain. I think I even had someone in Hong Kong. That was crazy. Had some customers there. But yeah, that, depending on what week it is, I might need to do some product stuff. And then, I mean, when you have a business, you don't really have a 9 to 5. So I don't, saying I'm going to finish at 6
doesn't happen.
Could be 8. But what I really do try and do throughout the day is make time for lunch.
Yes.
Absolutely. Make time to eat lunch, and then make time to eat dinner, and then throughout the day, water. So I've got my try and finish one of these bad boys every day, just to stay hydrated. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really have a typical day. So I could be at an event, I could be doing a workshop. I do training for teachers as well.
Yep.
So I work with a company called Lyric Eye Arts. They're based in Kent. So I do some education work with them. They're fantastic. And yeah, just kind of like always thinking a few steps ahead. So setting up new clients, pitching, trying to get partnerships, funding for my projects as well. So yeah, it's always all systems go, but I do try and stop for lunch.
It's the life of a founder, believe me.
Yeah, you know.
Humbly, I know, but it's the life of a founder. So I know that we spoke about music, and I know music is a massive part of your life. Even growing up, music, it has been a part of your life. So my question for you, and this is one of my favorite questions to ask my guests, is if you were to choose one song and only one song that was the soundtrack of your life, Marlon, what song would you choose, and why would you choose that particular song?
Savia, that's not fair.
I know.
Well, that is one song.
You're only allowed one song.
That is oh man, my brain is racking because I have so many go-to albums. Like I'll just listen to them over and over again. But one song soundtrack. Oh gosh. That is such a ooh. Do you know what? Actually, oh God, I want to get the title right. I know the artist. I know what the song is. I want to get the title right. I think it's "Ribbon in the Sky." Aretha Franklin, no, Anita Baker.
I know what you're talking about. Hold on, let's look it up. Come
Let
on.
me just make sure. It's
Yeah.
definitely Anita Baker. I want to say it's "Ribbon in the Sky," but this song is so timeless. I'm gonna check as well. I love it. I love them. Yeah, it's just fantastic. Anita Baker. Let's find it. I'm sure it is that. Let me make sure. Or is it Sweet Love? Oh,
Oh my gosh, that's a song.
it's a big song. It's definitely on that album. So the album is Rapture. Let me just see
Let's have a look.
if I'm bugging out. But I mean, that album is fantastic. If you haven't heard Anita Baker, Rapture from 1986. I first heard this album from my mum on vinyl.
There's Sweet Love, Caught Up in the Rapture.
Oh, that's a big song as well.
And
I
there's
think
You
it's
Bring Me Joy.
that's a great song. If I could have the album, I have the album. But no, I think Sweet Love. I'm going with Sweet
That's
Love.
a good one, actually.
Going with
Even
Sweet Love.
lyrically, that's a good song to choose.
That makes sense. That was a hard question.
No, you got there and you chose a great song. So you know the reason why I ask all my guests is because I make a playlist. And every
Yes.
every season has a playlist. And
Love
then
it.
I spread it out to the world, and I say,
that's
look,
perfect.
and then I'm like, look, season 1 has this type of playlist, season 2 has this type of playlist, so
That
you'll
is
be in season 5. So that's pretty cool. So that's
I'm
another
happy
one.
with that choice.
There you
There's
go.
a lot of songs, but I can live with that one.
So my next question for you is, if you could eliminate people who judge, so if the word judge wasn't in the dictionary, right? Because a lot of the time we get judged based upon how we look, who we are, titles, money, status, all these things we get judged upon. If I was to say to you, Marlon, take the word judgment out of the dictionary, what do you believe that you would have done or would do now differently in your life because there is no judgment?
That's a great question. Ooh. A great question. Do you know what is interesting? I think I would still be back at this point that I am right now, but I probably would have been here earlier in
I
life.
understand that. I've
Yeah,
heard that
I think.
before.
Yeah, I think I would have made this. If I knew what everyone says it, hindsight. If I knew what I knew now, I would have made this decision. I probably would have made this decision in my early 20s, to be honest, because I think even at that time when I didn't really know what I wanted to do, really, if I knew this was a possibility, I think I would have gravitated to starting a business at this time and fulfilled a lot of creative visions that I have now that I would have been able to execute. I don't know, in a I don't want to say a better way, but I would have been able to execute those quicker if I started earlier. So, wow, that's a great question. And I think why I say that now is because at this point in my life, judgment isn't really like, I don't even respond to judgment.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you know what I
totally
mean? Like,
understand it. Yeah, I do.
definitely walk my own path. I'm trying to like build things that, like you were saying before, it's not for you, it's for the next generation. So there's a selflessness in that. And then you don't really have time for people judging or criticizing or negative. And you don't have time for that because you're on a mission. So, yeah, I think if that was the case, it would just be get to this point earlier.
The one thing I love, which I've learned about life, is the element of surprise. Somebody would judge you and think that you might come off in a certain way, and then when you, for example, this is a massive one, when someone judges you based upon what you're wearing, as we often do get those type of judgments naturally, but then when you articulate yourself and show that with that articulation, you are able to educate that person in a way through your words. It's like an element of surprise. And this is why one of the things I love about life is that element of surprise, to make people go in themselves, go, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. And sometimes that's what life is about, that element of surprise.
I think you're right. And it's weird that you say that, because I think about some of the spaces I'm in or I have occupied, and looking around and maybe being the only black person or being the only black male in that environment. But I think I've got lots of proud moments, but one proud moment was in that same year of starting my business. It's like the world just opened up to me. Like I was like, there's nothing I can't do or go for. And a friend who's in the music industry was basically saying that I needed to join the Ivers Academy. So the Ivers Academy, for anyone who doesn't know, they're amazing singer-songwriter champions. They do the Ivor Novello Awards. And they were looking for new senators, like boards that could kind of help with the direction of the academy. My friend recommended me, and it was a voting system, and I got voted in, and I've been a Senate for the Ivor Academies for the last 3 years, and that's put me into great spaces to have conversations about music, especially from the singer-songwriter perspective, production, and the idea of royalties and what's fair, and equality and diversity. So being in those rooms, having that, not necessarily influence, but having my say heard, and maybe that could trigger something else to happen that would affect a wider community. I think that's something I'm really proud of, and I think that's why this podcast is great, because you're giving the platform for people to talk and express themselves. And I always pray that even if one or two people hear something that from our conversation, that's going to spark a mad difference in their life, and then that's going to spark mad difference in someone. That's what it's about. Literally so important.
I totally agree with that. See, this is why I love conversations. Conversations are important. But it's how we have those conversations that's also another element of importance. So if I could ask you to choose one quote, and one quote only, that represented you as a person, what quote would you choose, and why would you choose that particular quote?
That's easier, because
I like that. That came with confidence.
Because I'm telling my team at Upward Bound, shout out to my team at Upward Bound, they're fantastic. I always say this to them, so this is definitely something that I try and stand by. Be valuable, be of service.
Yes, I hear that a lot. Yes.
Yeah, for me that is key.
See?
Be valuable, be of service.
So I'm going to take you and put you on a beautiful desert island for a second. And then I'm going to say, Marlon, if you could choose one activist, one president, and one musician, I can't even say it correctly, but musician, there you go, to have a conversation with for 24 hours, what president, what activist, and what musician would you bring on the island?
Ah, gosh. Maya Angelou, activist.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I get you.
Obama, president.
Okay, I get you. Yep.
A musician. I think it'd have to be Bob Marley. Yeah, have to be Bob Marley, definitely.
That would be a night. That would definitely.
That'd be a mad one.
I would be on the ship in the background with my binoculars, but just, you'll be fine.
Just from, obviously, I've never met any of them, but just from observation of who they are, they all have a calming spirit.
Very true.
But Bob Marley obviously is explosive as a performer. Maya Angelou is just, it's like mum or grandma.
Yeah, but she has this energy that is like nothing bothers her. in that way.
It's like,
But then when she
oh,
speaks, her words are, so she has a soft, it's like a soft voice, right?
yes,
But with powerful content.
yeah, definitely.
That's how I see
And
it.
yeah, I agree. And I think with Obama, I think for me, obviously, the obvious questions I would have for him is how did he, like, just mentally and emotionally cope in that time frame, the pressures, the doubt, like how do you, as a black man, how do you cope and then seemingly be calm on the exterior like that? There's so much to ask.
No, I
So
understand
much.
that. I understand that. If I was to say, what are you most grateful for, or what do you believe you are most grateful for that you stand for as an individual?
Oh, I think because it's all encompassing, I would say being an education,
Yeah.
because I think that covers a multitude of areas. The education of history, the education of neurodiversity, the
Very true.
education of humility, the education of communication, like you saying, how do we best communicate? That's all education. I think a lot of things happen because of naivety or a lack of understanding.
That is very true.
Yeah, trauma plays a big part into how people interact. So more education around trauma and triggers. I think that's something that I always look for or try to engage if I'm, especially with young people. Like I work with so many young people who maybe get expelled or excluded or frequently get detentions, and I try and look at why is that cycle happening? And often it's because the communication between the student and the teacher doesn't talk about trauma and triggers. Yes, I think education.
I like the fact that you said that.
Stand by.
One thing I do want to know from an educator is, how do you believe that education should change? Because there are a lot of things within education that,
Yeah,
okay, for example, I'm just going to quickly say, I teach autistic children, I teach ADHD children creativity. I find that a lot of creativity has been taken away from educational spaces. As we all know this. So many people are like being activists about this. And one thing I would love to hear from your perspective is, how can we as people, as educators, help to change the system to make it better for people so they are not stigmatized in the way that things have been done? And what would you say about this?
oh, it's a big question. It's definitely one of my passions. Is something that I believe is one of my missions, is to change the help, as I can't do it on my own, but help change the education system for that very reason. I think it starts with employment of teachers and leadership. I think it's not good enough just to have a teaching qualification and be good at your subject.
Yeah.
That's actually only part of the job. I think there has to be education and training around biases.
I agree.
There has to be education around class as well and environment. I think what tends to happen with some schools is teachers come in from maybe out of London, so they don't really have the London experience or context, and then you're dead in front of a student who's from London, born and raised, lives in London, and they're going through things that maybe you haven't really experienced or not educated on, and then that can create a barrier. Like, there needs to be educational context as well. And I think leadership as well in education needs to change. Like, there's too many schools, academies, institutions where when you go right up to the top leadership, they don't look like us. Often middle class white males. That's not a representation of our community.
Yeah.
And often decisions are made without the context of the people it's going to affect. So it really has to change right to the top, but at the core, the training and the employment of teachers into a school and an academy needs to be really finite. I think too many mistakes happen when you don't have that training in place.
I agree.
Detrimental damages to young people and older people if that is not looked at closely.
I agree with that. I'm so glad you said that, because there are a lot of conversations that I feel we need to have about this, but then it's one thing about having a conversation and there's another about implementing that into action. You know,
Exactly.
Thank you so much for saying it. So I've only got two more for you. My second to last question for you, Marlon, is when was the last time you felt totally at peace with yourself?
Oh, Savia, you're going in today. You're going in today. I was not prepared for these questions. Wow. Well, no, I mean, I think I can point to a year. Definitely 2020. 2020 was, I want to say transformative. It was definitely the ignition to what's happening now for me. And you know what I remember about that year, and definitely the summer, it just felt like the longest summer in history. But I just remember because we had to teach online a lot, so we wasn't going into school, so I had more time at home. So what was happening, I would be teaching and then I wouldn't have to teach for another couple of hours. I'm having a nap. I'm having a
power nap.
How privileged a midday nap is.
It is.
Like, I was like, there's people around the world that actually do this.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And then the other thing about that for me, I spent a lot of time outside in nature. So again, the day would finish, it was still sunny and bright, head to the park, sit, get grounded. Yeah, I think that was the most transformative.
See, and this is why. So my last question, I always like ending the podcast on a peaceful note, because I believe that peace brings clarity to one's soul and oneself, regardless of who you are. Even if you're a busy entrepreneur, like, you know, we all are in our own way. It's so important to have peace within ourselves. So my last question is, I've had the pleasure of interviewing you today. So before I even say thank you, I would love for everyone to know where they can find you, Marlon, find out what you do, connect with you. Please share.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, thank you, Savia. I appreciate this. This is very this is a privilege, humble. You can find me. So my websites, my education consultancy website is www.marlonjames-edwards.com. And you can kind of see the work I do in the education spaces. And then the fashion brand is www.archerseries.com, artchaseries.com. So those are the websites. In terms of social medias, LinkedIn, Marlon James Edwards, you'll find me up there. And then you'll also find Archer Series on LinkedIn as well. There's Instagram. So again, Marlon James Edwards on Instagram, Archer Series on Instagram. You can contact me on any of those spaces. And I'm always happy to engage with people, especially like we were talking about with education changes.
Yep.
Always open to those convos and working with other companies or organizations who are on that mission.
See, there you go. Marlon, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time, for blessing the show with your energy, you know, telling us your story, but also helping people in the world who now can come and find information about education and what you do as well. Thank you so much.
No, Savia, you are phenomenal. This is a great platform. I will be telling everybody about the platform, the podcast. So much blessings to you. And I hope to meet you in real life one day.
Oh, definitely. Oh no, I'll make that happen.
Chop it up on some missions.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll pull it. I'll definitely make that happen.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, guys. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast, and please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Us People podcast so we can continue to hear people's stories and share them with you guys. You can do this on the Savia Rocks website or the Us People podcast website, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
Of the night, you'll be guided through the light. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. Some phenomenal questions, absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I just pray that it reaches the right ears and they're motivated and inspired. So yeah, thank you.
Spread your wings and let the wind glide you high. We're just soaring through this journey, leaving fear far behind. Our hearts are full of courage. You can win if you try. Redirect the yes to you. You'll see the power in yes if you try. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind glide. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind glide. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind glide. I fly like I'm Superman. Spread your wings and let the wind glide you high. We're just soaring through this journey, leaving fear far behind.